Thank you for joining us. I'm Michael Miller. We have a very special guest today, Miami-Dade County Commissioner Vicki Lopez. Welcome.
Thank you, Michael. Love being back.
And it's so nice to see you. All right. And you're always so energetic and so friendly. It's really an amazing thing to be able to be like that consistently and all the time.
It's just who I am.
Yes.
So that's, you see what you see is what you get.
And I know you know my brother-in-law, my son-in-law.
Your son-in-law.
And my daughter.
Yes.
And I think my grandson is back here.
He
His
is.
last day of working. All right. He's so happy he got paid today.
I love that.
And last night he was trying to figure out his hours, how many and how much money. I said, no cheating. Just tell me the hours. Don't worry about
the exact
it.
Hours.
All right. So we were just talking about rain.
Yes.
And flooding and things like that occur. I know this is a great concern to a lot of people in Miami-Dade County. And one of the questions is, what is the county, have they done recently, and what are we going to do to try to mitigate the flooding that we frequently get?
So I can only speak for District 5
Yes.
right now. And so unfortunately, District 5 only has one piece of unincorporated where the county actually would have responsibility and jurisdiction, and that would be Fisher Island. And I haven't heard yet that there's any flooding on Fisher Island. However, the vast majority of the district is City of Miami and City of Miami Beach. So I have to work with both of those cities to identify areas in which I see flooding and then call them and say, look, there's flooding here. You need to either check the storm drainage. You need to. So I'm consistently dealing with two municipalities regarding flooding in my district.
So you're a former state representative.
I am.
Now you've been a commissioner for
9 months.
For 9 months. Tell us the difference between serving the citizens in Tallahassee, the citizens in Miami-Dade County or the area, and the difference in being a county commissioner. So
there really is a huge difference, and the difference is growing at the longer I am in the position that I'm in. So at the state level, obviously you're working on issues, very important issues that affect every Floridian, right? So it's a very different, it's more high level policy. Here as a county commissioner, I find myself working probably 3 times as hard because all politics is local. And what I'm finding is that the more that I am with my constituents, the closer that I am to them, the closer I am to their problems, but the better off I am in solving them. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? It's a lot more work, and yet it's more rewarding.
But do you see the results faster as a county commissioner?
Yes, definitely, because I can affect change on a daily basis. In Tallahassee, you have to wait to start committee weeks, and then it's like how you make the sausage, and then you have to go through session, and then after that, there's no time to go back. You have to wait an additional year for the next session. This is on a daily basis. It comes from like making sure an elderly person has food, to making sure the street, has been cleared because of flooding, making sure that trees are not, destroyed. So you have an immediate impact, which I find so rewarding.
You mentioned 3 things. We're going to talk about Fisher Island. We have a little issue going on there.
Yeah, we sure do.
You talk about not-for-profits in the sense that people need, they need to eat.
Yes.
And I already forgot the third one in there. So let's talk a little bit about the not-for-profits that relied on the county for money. Last year, I think they were almost all eliminated. I hear some rumors that the county may be refunding some of those not-for-profits.
So all of the nonprofits and the arts and culture communities will be held harmless in this budget that the mayor has presented, right? I think what I'm most concerned about is really digging into the nonprofits to see, do they need assistance, right? Building capacity. Because for me, if you only have a limited amount of money, you want to get the biggest bang for your buck. And I want the commission to be able to start saying, these are the priorities, the priority populations. Like, is it going to be elderly? Is it going to be at-risk children? I prefer a priority people over buildings. That's been my motto. People need assistance in our community. So we need to figure out who's serving who, make sure there isn't duplication of services so we can spread that money around to hit more of the people that need assistance. So that's part of what I hope will unfold during the budget process.
I know that those type of things are dear to my brother and I because we recognize, part of our responsibility is to take care of those that can't take care of themselves.
Correct.
And there are people on the other side, well, let them fend for this. No, we're going to pay it one way or the other. We're going to pay it now, or we're going to pay it at Jackson Hospital, and the suffering that goes along with it is just tremendous. Most of us don't understand, and I get a glimpse of it, but I certainly don't understand what it might be like with a single parent, probably a mom with a couple of kids, and no place to go and no money. So I know it's pretty tough for them.
It is very tough for many people, and that's what I'm discovering, that it's tough across the board.
And I guess the Miami-Dade County is, and perhaps the city of Miami as well, has reached this new pinnacle. And apparently we're number one or number two in cost of living.
Yes, unfortunately, for those of us that live here.
It used to be, go down to Florida, they don't have taxes, you can sit out South Beach over there and sunshine in the beaches. Well, that's completely switched. It didn't happen overnight, but it seems like it did. So
I think it did happen almost overnight, and I think it got fully exacerbated during COVID. I think prior to COVID, things were somewhat affordable. I think that there was a missing piece. Probably the workers needed more assistance in lowering, housing costs. But come the COVID era, everyone started moving to Florida, and they brought these very large salaries from California and New York, while those of us who live and work here were just making what we made. And so they actually priced all
Yes.
of us out of our homes.
yes, 100%, because they're willing to pay more,
Yes.
because they had more money, and
Correct.
we were inexpensive. We know that a lot of the private schools have a lot of private students that are going there, driving up the price.
Yep.
And the trickle down, so people can understand. They used to advertise and market a lot, including with us and across the board. Now they're waiting lines
Yeah.
to get in. So they can raise the rent. So the local guy who has one or two kids and wants to send them to a $40,000 or $50,000 a year private school is going, wait a second, a few years ago it was 25 or 30. Now all of a
Correct.
sudden it's not quite double, but close to that. You mentioned about accountability and transparency. As you may or may not know, my brother Grant has been pushing the county to be more transparent.
I don't disagree with him.
And it is, this is my experience, when I want to find out how some money is being spent, I was told to go to the check registry, if you will, and you go and you put the name of the vendor in, it will give you a check number and the check amount. That's it.
That's absurd.
It is like sixth grade. Palm Beach, folks, Palm Beach has got a system up there, dashboard you can go in, and it's categorized. You can figure out just about everything that you want. So I hope that in this budget that whoever's in charge of that, because I'm not sure anymore, right, get more transparent.
Yes, but I think there's something missing here about this discussion, right? I was a budget chair in the Florida House. I had 12 executive agencies under my domain. I knew every bit of their budgets. Today, just a couple weeks ago, the mayor actually, submitted her budget to the public. And now, as a commissioner, instead of doing the work that I did at the state, where I could literally go through each department and look at and speak with department heads and say, do you actually need this? Is there a better way of doing it? I'm going to be forced in September to have 2 budget hearings, and that's that. Now, that is, in my opinion, the worst way to budget. I believe that the commission should start doing its job. I think it should start in October for the next year. I think that we should be assigned certain departments. We should work with the mayor and her department heads and her leadership team, and we should call through those budgets just like she does, so that we can make honest, educated decisions about whether we're funding what we should be funding. It's exactly what I did at the state. I don't understand why I could do that at a state level, and I can't do it here at the county commission. And furthermore, there were line item budgets that anybody, any Floridian, can go to the state website and find any item for any dollar that has been budgeted and appropriated and spent. Now, I don't understand why we can't do that here in Miami-Dade County. I have that experience, and that point of reference causes me great concern as I look at what I'm looking at now as a commissioner.
So, Commissioner, when you're back in office again, I hope that you can get your colleagues to go along and get more of this transparency done and to make it work better so that people don't feel isolated.
I agree.
All right. And there's something that Grant and I were working on for several years. And I wouldn't give up until recently. And I gave up. And I said, I give up. I'm out. I am out.
I'm hopeful that you will be back in.
All right. It is just terrible. But let's talk about a couple things. We have let's talk about the waste energy plant, wherever that's going to be one day. All right. That's been going on for at least 3 years, probably 4. There are 2 big companies, Florida Power and Light, and then another company that we're going to do a joint venture. I understand that one of them backed out.
That's what I hear. I have yet to get a briefing on what happened. And it's interesting that we went out into an RFP, but we didn't do it with specific parameters. Again, this was shortly after I arrived. I noted, it's funny how if you have experience at a different level of government, you can actually apply that experience and say, why was it done that way, right? I don't understand why we didn't say site specific. This is how much tonnage we want. What's your price? Instead, it was very vague, which caused then someone on the commission to say, why don't we ask them two vendors to come together and try to do it together, which I believe may have been a mistake because we have wasted a lot of time. And I don't believe that they could ever reach a conclusion on site or actually the footprint. And that is the other thing. The commission wants to do everything, every single thing. And I'm talking about a big footprint that would take up almost more than 50 acres. A waste-to-energy facility will take maybe 30. Maybe we start with the waste-to-energy and get that right, and then we add the components of composting and recycling, all on a separate footprint, right? It's going to be cost prohibitive, and I don't know that the taxpayer or the ratepayer is ready and willing to accept that.
The figure that I heard, because one dropped out, it went up by at least
$2 million.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it went up since I arrived.
Say it again.
$2 million, I heard.
Yeah, so that should be interesting to see what's going to happen. WLN had a show about a month ago called The Trash Train, right? And it was a great show. Congratulations to them. And this is what I understood from the show. The trucks would go to where the trains are and then put them into the trains, and they would sit there for a day, a week, or whatever, and then collecting the garbage and then take them to some other dumps. So there's little towns along the way. They said, what can we do?
Well, they're getting the smell of it,
yes.
Which is
and
really
the critters. They get around that.
Yes, I don't know that that's the solution. Let's put it that way.
So, and I got to tell you that when I look at, here we are, 2026, and we're just putting all this stuff in the ground. It's astonishing.
It is
the
very
same way
astonishing.
We did, for 100 years, maybe longer. I certainly don't know what the answer is, but there's people that I know have a big question concerning the fuel depot over on
Fisher Island.
Fisher Island. For the people that don't know, you can get there by boat. What do they call it? The ferry.
The ferry.
You go across. They have a unique way. This is where the owners, where they sit, and this is where on the ferry. This is where the workers sit on the way over there. So there was a situation. I don't know the exact details, but somebody bought it out from underneath the county. There were multiple conversations going on. 3 or 4 people got terminated, high-level people, because they didn't make the deal. But what is going to happen?
So where we are today is exactly where they put the commission. In September and October, the commission moved. In September, they moved to negotiate with the owners. I call them the Party of Four. And then in October, they moved for eminent domain. So they always knew that that's what they were going to do. Just recently, we then, decided which property, which of all the properties, of all the 10 acres that are there, which ones do we actually need for the fuel depot? And then now the mayor is moving to eminent domain. The surprise was, at least for me, was that there is a covenant on that property that moves with the property, right? The property went up for sale at least 5 times, and the county never bought it. I don't think they ever thought anyone would dare take away the current setting, which was the fuel tanks. I believe that the Party of Four that purchased it for $180 million, one thought, well, we'll make condos or we'll flip it. It's a complicated situation because on Fisher Island, there's what's known as a Fisher Island Club and a Fisher Island Community Association. Those two parties together were part of the land deal, because in order for anyone to live on Fisher Island, you have to be a member of the club. And the club gave, in exchange for pieces of that parcel, $20 million worth of club memberships. When the mayor's team went to negotiate with the Party of Four, the Party of Four, did not include their other partners. So they are now being sued by the Fisher Island Community Association and the Fisher Island Club. That's one crazy situation that is occurring. But the mayor now has authority to negotiate an eminent domain. And here's the issue. The covenant is rightfully belonging to the property. It's an industrial covenant, right? So it fits the use of the fuel tanks. no one can lift that covenant but the county commission. With the covenant, that piece of property is only worth $24 million, probably, on the market, right? These people bought it for $180 million. So now we have a dilemma, right? Everyone found out about the covenant at the final commission meeting where we decided to move forward with eminent domain. And so the question will be, who's going to win in court? Who will prevail, knowing that the property did exchange hands?
The lawyers.
Well, yes.
Of course.
But I think that there's enough evidence to reflect that the property exchanged hands at least 5 times, and the covenant traveled with those transactions. So I think any court of law would say the covenant is clearly associated with the use of that property, and the use determines the market rate.
So these folks were interested paid $180 million. They offered to sale for the county to $400 million with $200 million down, and then the rest of the other $200 million over a 10 or 20-year period.
Yes.
Is that about right?
That is exactly what I learned. But I don't know that any taxpayer would think. And again, this is not taxpayer dollars. These are part of the enterprise fund, which is
Yes.
The port. But the point is that we certainly need the port. The fuel is very important. I think what's missing in all this is what happens on the port. We're the number 1 cruise capital and one of the and top 3 on cargo. Every ship depends on fuel every day. We cannot. Our economy cannot afford not to be able to fuel those ships every single day. And that is the most important thing, because I have 30,000 people working on that port. So these are workers that are supporting their families. We don't have the luxury anymore to determine whether or not we like what happened.
So what happened with it? How important that property and its use is?
Yes.
How did it slip away?
I have no idea, because that would have been a decision former commission members would have made. But I truly believe, I don't think it's nefarious. I think they thought that no one would ever flip that property and try to take away the fuel tanks.
Well,
that's a risk you take when you know you must have fuel every single day.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about, if we could, about the Beacon Council.
Sure.
And about Strive 305. We were happy to participate with Strive 305, where we did over 125 podcasts with them, and we had several events there. Very good. Manny Sid ran for mayor a couple of years ago, works for the county now. Guy's got a lot of energy, and I understand the Beacon Council just hired somebody new to work with the Beacon Council and to push Strive. I want to put it on the record, we are ready, willing, and able to assist whatever entity is to help small businesses.
Yeah,
all they have to do is call up, email, show up, whatever it is, we're happy to, no charge.
I'm happy to hear that, because I'm a real proponent of small businesses. Small businesses make up the vast majority of businesses in my district. And every week I profile a small business, because I think it's important to talk to the owner, find out why they have, created their business in my district, what's important to them, what's been a challenge, because hopefully I can help with challenges, and then also put it on my social media so I can help market my small businesses. I think they're critical to the economy of District 5.
Well, by the way, you're certainly welcome to get some of those businesses to call us.
Love
right?
it.
And
Will
we
do.
have to do that. It's no charge for folks, because we understand the essence of that. And I'm not sure what the legal definition of small business is, but for most of us, it's a small business.
Yes,
all right?
I agree.
And, in our operation here, we have 3 millers that are here, right? Been here for 60 years. And we're happy to help with that.
Thank you.
And so what can, if a small business wants to do business with the county, where should they first start?
Well, obviously you need an occupational license, right? So one of the first things you got to do is obviously get the county to give you a license. In District 5, again, you have to worry about going to the specific city, right? Because they have their own regulations for small businesses. But I like to be the person who helps if there's a challenge, because small businesses are challenged every day with time. Time equals money. And it does for all businesses, but it really means something for small businesses. So I do a mom and pop grant, which I love, up to $1,500, which helps them either get a social media platform going or do a little marketing stint, because that's the help. They in order to get into business, obviously they're going to need space. So sometimes they come to me and they say, do you have any idea of where there's a smaller space? We always refer them to realtors that work on small businesses. But it's getting started. And I say it's always the challenge. What if you have to do any kind of repairs to the space, or you want to upgrade the space? You need a permit. So often I'm fighting with cities to make sure that that permit doesn't take forever because they're paying on the space without any revenue coming in.
Yes.
So it's how government can be more participatory in helping to increase the number of businesses and lessen the load as opposed to being the challenge they face.
Speaking of challenge, we've had a great summer off where the traffic is a little bit less.
Oh boy.
We know schools are about to start, and we know in 3 or 4 weeks we're going to say the traffic is worse than ever. No, it's the same it was in May.
It was.
Which is tough.
Yes.
So there's an organization, obviously part of the county, CITT, Citizens Independent Transportation Trust, and I need to do a show with this. One of the things I've learned is use the word mobility, because then it sort of sanitizes it a little bit. And the reality is we have a lot of traffic here.
We do.
All right, and it's a tough thing to handle. The question is, how do we move about in that traffic?
Yeah, I struggle with it because I represent the urban core. So there's no way to expand Brickell or Biscayne or Collins or Washington Avenue. So I struggle with getting people out of their cars, right? I think we have to incentivize developers not to build too much parking in their new. I want to incentivize, especially the young people. They don't even have cars. Half of my building garage is empty because they don't own cars. So good. That's what we want to encourage. Get out of your cars.
How does the county or the cities do that?
So by encouraging micromobility, you know, when we build roads, we need to build lanes that allow people, because one of the scooters doesn't belong in front of a car. Even though an electric bike goes 20 miles an hour or up to 30 miles an hour, they're either forced to be on the road where they don't belong or on the sidewalk where they are a danger to pedestrians, right? We have to learn when we create roads is to do a lane for micromobility devices. People will feel safer, cars will feel safer. So that's one of the ways that we can. But I also believe that we have to, as a county, look at the SMART plan. When the SMART plan was created, it had all the corridors in it, right? So it's got every bit of what we want. I think we have to go back and look at the SMART plan and say, what's the corridor that will alleviate the traffic the most? Is it the north-south corridor? Is it the east-west one? And then we have to invest in that. We can't invest in all of them at the same time because we're getting nothing done. And every year, the price of doing something increases. So I think we have to pick one, and we go to the feds, we go to the state, and we say we need the funds for this, and we get started on it. The Signature Bridge right across from my district is a disaster as far as I'm concerned. It's now 7 years late.
Is your district part of Coral Gables?
No, I don't have Coral Gables. Okay. My western boundary is Douglas.
Okay.
But look at the Signature Bridge. It's not in my district, and yet it's creating havoc for my Miami Beach residents who are trying to come off the beach onto the mainland. And the Biscayne Boulevard exit is one lane. You should see that, Michael. Anyone who lives on the islands is now a new prisoner to their new homes because they can't get off. It's really transit versus transportation is the question that we all have to ask ourselves. And quite frankly, I don't have a solution, but I'm working every day to figure it out.
And just explain again to the viewers your district and how many people are in that district.
Yes. So approximately 180,000 people live in my district. So I have everything south of 5th Street. Of 5th Street and downtown. And then I have all of Brickell, the roads, Little Havana, Shenandoah, and Silver Bluff. That's the mainland. Then I cross the causeway. I have all of South Beach and parts of Mid Beach, which would mean everything south of Dade Boulevard and everything east of Collins to 54th.
Okay. We're going to get on to Homestead proper, if you will, in a moment. But you're running for office.
I am.
Absentee ballots went out?
Yes, they did.
Okay. And yet we have early voting?
We do on August 3rd.
And then the last day of voting
is August 18th.
It used to be that was the day of voting. No, that is the last day. People fill out your ballot, get it done. If you don't trust the mail,
you can drop it off at a precinct.
Right, and go do that. So we see that the south end of the county, Homestead area, is being inundated with developers. We'll put aside where they're building sort of inside the urban development boundary line. But we see more and more applications are coming in to expand farther west. This is an imaginary line that was made by the county, or it was made by the county or the state, by the county. And so over the years, the county say, no, you got to stay on the east side.
Correct.
And the developers have been doing in these areas doing a great job in infill. We see the old houses are coming down.
That's what I love.
Right. The cities are saying, okay, we'll let you go a little bit taller. There's a big building going up right across the street here. for 10 years ago, the city wouldn't look at it, but they're saying we need to get that stuff. We have homes, 70-year-old homes are being torn down, and beautiful homes.
That's the beauty of urban infill.
Right, and that's forced by this imaginary line. They stay on the east side of that. What are we going to do in a couple of years?
So, listen, I don't think the line actually really exists, right? Because we've allowed certain people, we've picked winners and losers. We've allowed certain people to go over the line, certain people not. So either you have a line or you don't. Quite frankly, I'm not sure we do anymore. And the state tried to take it away completely this session, and I'm pretty sure they'll come back. But that line was created to protect the water supply in the Everglades. And if anyone understands how water flows, it flows down from Lake Okeechobee all through the watershed until it gets to our Everglades. It's imperative. It's imperative to all of us, not just those of you that live on the west side, to all of us citizens that we protect the line. And the reason is because if we want water quality to remain good and clean, that is going to be required. That's all there is to it. I don't understand how we got into this mess and how we have this discussion. There is plenty in my district. There's very little land in District 5. There's plenty of opportunities to take, in Little Havana, for instance, the old 4 or 5 walk-ups that Cuban refugees lived in. Those can be torn down now, 65 years later, and housing be put up. There's no reason to push the line. There really is not.
So we know you're commissioners are under a lot of pressure, so I hope that you can resist part of that. I lived in horse country, and for 25 years we've fought the developments. We're very successful at it for a lot of reasons. So I understand that fight. We had a slogan back when, keep horse country green, and the commission is very supportive of that. And we understand how it works, and I know maybe this isn't the way zoning is supposed to work, but once it starts, then you have winners and losers, and everybody goes, well, what about them?
Yeah.
They're next to me. Why can't I do the same?
Correct. And on the opposite side, we had a piece of agricultural land that was being used as a tire rethreading for large semi-trucks, right? It had a liquor store. It was a piece of disgusting. But because it was agriculture, they had what I call a non-conforming use on it. A developer wanted to come and do a country grocery store there, clean it all up, put a country grocery store there, because the people down south where that piece of property is were having to get on US 1 4 miles to go to a grocery store. So it made sense, right? So even though it's zoned agricultural, it was being used as industrial. So the beautiful little country store was actually a better choice. And so you can make exceptions, and it wasn't across the UDB line. It was just an agricultural classification. But what was on it was so disgusting that I was excited to think that we would put a pretty little country store, and the people that had like a food desert were able to get to a grocery store now.
And I used to own some property in way west, and we could get food on Chrome.
Yeah.
I was 20 minutes from the closest store.
Sure.
And it was quite
the feat.
Right. So tell us a little bit about your family, because people, when they go out to vote for you, they're going to want to know who you are.
All right. Well, I have a wonderful son, Donald, and he's married to his beautiful wife, Bianca, and they have given me my most prized possession, my 3-year-old grandson, Stalin. So those are that is my focus. That is the thing that makes me get up in the morning, is knowing that they're well and they're good and I have them. Other than that, I am very grateful to have come from a family of hardworking people who are compassionate and very community service oriented. And I think I get my service, DNA from my family, and I'm grateful for that.
And thanks for sharing that. And when you say in your DNA, you feel that from people.
Yes.
You see that. It's just the way it is. All right.
Michael, I can tell you that the greatest gift from this position is actually being with people. When I can press that flesh, when I can look at someone in their eyes and try to figure out what's going on with you, because for me, every voice matters. It does. Listen, yesterday I was knocking on doors and I ran across an 80-year-old man who needed some things, and I was just watching him as he was talking to me. It was a whisper because he had an oxygen tank. And that I could help him with one little thing made it all worthwhile. They remind me why I'm doing what I'm doing. That is that simple.
So Gran and I grew up in that environment.
Yes, you did.
And my father's on radio and TV for a while, and about a year ago, and we're doing something similar to what he did in the 50s and 60s. We interviewed a young lady. She has a not-for-profit down south, and so she came over. I said, "Tell me your story." She said, "Well, by age 16, I'd been working at 3 migrant camps: Homestead, Texas, and Pennsylvania. I was abused by one family member, went to another family member. A friend came along, helped me get into Miami-Dade, helped me get to Barry, and then she got a free ride at Case Western and got her master's." She said, "Michael, I was within 20 miles where I used to pick potatoes 20 years before." She now got over $1 million grant from McKinsey Scott and bought a church building that is filled with not-for-profits. She said,
God love her.
She said to me, I forget her name. Anyway, so she said, this is how she ended the show. "If you are sexually abused, it is not your fault. You're not alone, and call me." And when you see that you can help amplify those type of messages, right, it does make a difference.
It does.
Right.
It does. If you're not doing this with a gracious servant heart, then I don't know why you're doing it. Because the sacrifices are big, but the rewards are so much bigger.
So my grandson, who you met,
Yeah.
I'm going to end the show with something. He's been hugging a lot more. So let's look in the camera. We're going to do something right here. Folks, first of all, thank you for joining us, and Commissioner, thank you.
Thank you,
well.
Michael.
And folks, remember that Gran and I subscribe to the Disney rule, which is when you hug someone, don't stop until they do. Have a great day. Bye.
Lovely.